In this video, we're going to be talking about some of the most critical courses you can use, the biggest bang for your buck that you can take to learn the right skills to go from zero to hero and get your first or sometimes second job as a digital marketing data analyst. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Will, and I've spent over 8 years working in the digital marketing space. The last 3 years, I've been working as a digital marketing data analyst. Now I'm a senior data analyst, marketing data analyst. And one distinction I want to make here is that what I'm teaching is actually a subset of a data analyst. It's not the same thing. So it's not going to be as programming heavy or data focused. It's actually one of these new emerging job titles that's getting very popular, where while you still need some programming knowledge, it's more so about knowing various tools and various business intelligence tools and marketing tools to collect, track, and then visualize the data by navigating and understanding these tools. So if you're someone who is less programming heavy and more into being able to learn and use certain tools, this could be a great job for you. So let's get started with that. Now, I did say less programming. You're still going to need some programming, and so that is why the first thing I would recommend is SQL. So why SQL instead of Python or R? Well, in my experience with my job title in this kind of new emerging role, Python and R are much less talked about or brought up. I think it would still be beneficial if you knew them, but in my role and these roles, like, you're going to be using SQL sometimes. You may not even use Python or R. And that's because most of the time, if we are doing programming, it's because we're in BigQuery or some similar internet-based cloud tool that stores a lot of data. And we're simply writing SQL queries to extract the data we want in the way we want from a very large raw data set. So we don't necessarily need Python or R to get more fancy with it. We just need to get some basic data out of a data set, usually Google Analytics 4, and that should be good enough. So I recommend, if you can, to start with some free and affordable SQL courses. There's plenty for free on YouTube. If you want something a bit more streamlined and maybe more effective, saves you a little bit of time, but it costs a little bit of money, then get a course. Get something from Code Academy or Udemy, and still you're probably going to spend less than $100, which is much less money than a college tuition bill. Think about that. The amount people spend for a 4-year degree to attempt to get a job and still not even get a job using their degree is crazy compared to what you need to get started in this industry and role. Now, once you get that, and depending on the job, you may want to consider like a more advanced program. So for me, I found a lot of value in a program by Simo Ahava, who's a very famous analytics guru on the internet. And so his name's Simo. It's spelled Simo space Ahava. He has a website, and then he has courses, but then a bunch of other people do too. But I found his course the best. But he has a course on using SQL and Google Analytics 4 together in BigQuery. So it's highly focused on using SQL for GA4 in BigQuery. And I found it very applicable to my role and the stuff that I would apply for. I would consider first checking the types of jobs and companies and industries and those job postings in those industries and companies that you aspire for to see what those job listings want. And so if you see that their SQL knowledge is emphasized with other tools and skill sets in the Google suite, like Google Cloud, Google Analytics 4, then that could be a really good sign that you should check out the Simo course, because it's just really relevant to using all those together. And there's very unique quirks to BigQuery, which is also owned by Google, that you just wouldn't be able to, it's harder to figure out without using this course, just using the basic SQL knowledge you learned. There's a lot of unique eccentricities, you could say, with the BigQuery stuff. So that's just one thing you could do. Keep in mind though that course is not cheap. It's fairly expensive. So what I was able to do was able to get my foot in the door at my agency, and then I think me and my team members pitched that course and the value of it, and then the company bought it for us. So that's another thing you could do. You can leverage the value of a course, and then usually a company, a business, has more spending power. They may even have a budget for their team for professional development, and you can leverage that and just get a lot more bang for your buck. So that's the first thing in terms of programming languages. What else? Google Sheets. So for my work, I have found like 99 times out of 100 working at my agency and previous agencies, they all love Google Sheets. In fact, a lot of clients across many industries, they love Google Sheets over Excel. So you may be thinking, oh, maybe I should use Excel instead of Google Sheets. In my experience, they're both, first off, very similar. They're both spreadsheet softwares that, I believe Google kind of copied Microsoft, but now they've kind of outpaced them because Google Sheets is a cloud-based thing. So it's very easy to share the link and have people editing a document in real time. You probably already know that if you've been in college, because oftentimes people will share a Google Doc and take notes for a college class and just kind of like, combine notes. So it's super useful in that way, and therefore I think having a basic, you don't have to be an expert, but a basic to intermediate knowledge in some of the key functions of Google Spreadsheets will take you pretty far. So those are things like being able to sort and filter, maybe a VLOOKUP, maybe know how to do a pivot table. Nothing crazy complicated, but just some fundamental stuff. Know how to sort rows, have different tabs going, and create a few basic formulas if you need to calculate averages or medians, and you're pretty much good to go. So some of these stuff you could probably get a free course on YouTube about it, or if you really want to go a bit deeper, I would say don't spend more than like $20 to $30 on a Udemy course or something, because it's really not that complicated. You could probably even find the information for free on the web. But the real difference is actually getting to that skill set. I think a lot of people talk about it and then they don't be about it, or they don't have those skills. So okay, so what else? You got programming, you have Google Sheets. Another big thing would be getting certain skills in a BI tool. BI stands for Business Intelligence. It's also called data visualization. And so that is basically, if you're not familiar, it's basically like a dashboard where you have all these different charts and graphs. It's very visually appealing. And then you can change the date, and then the graph will update to the new date. Or there's other controls you can play with, like you can filter. Sometimes there's a filter control where you can filter to specific pages or specific demographics, and then all the charts will automatically ripple through and update. It's really neat. It came about not that long ago, a few years ago, and it's been kind of leading the charge for a lot of marketing firms because they have a lot of different data sources, maybe Facebook ads, HubSpot, email marketing, social media ads, Google ads, all these different data from different data sources. And so a tool like this leverages many skill sets, mostly involving taking data from all these different data sources, combining them together in a decipherable, readable way, and then transforming it so it's readable, and then defining the graphs and charts that will be most impactful for leadership. So there's a lot of related skill sets, and one of them at the core of it is being able to use a couple of these data viz tools. So the big ones right now on the market that dominate are Power BI, Looker Studio, and Tableau. I think Looker Studio you can find some free tutorials on. Power BI and Tableau are much more difficult. I did go through a Tableau training program and certification, also funded by my company, but that was not cheap. So those two are harder to do, but I would recommend at least two of the three tools you know pretty well, because chances are you're going to run into more than one of them. So showing that you have more than one tool in this category at an intermediate level of skill will set you way ahead of your competitors when you're applying to jobs. So how do you get the Tableau and Power BI thing? That was more difficult for me, but I've personally found the route has been to essentially get your foot in the door. So you can try and get free work and free clients and work for free and try and get experience with someone who's already using Tableau, for example, that's one route. I think that's a bit harder than the route I took, which is first I just got a stepping stone entry-level job as a digital marketer. Then I got I transitioned from that and got the next step up, which was as a digital analyst at a different agency. And then through that, as an entry level, as I kind of matured at the company and grew my skills, there were occasionally clients that came up who had Tableau or something else, and that is where I kind of raised my hand and showed that I wanted to contribute to these, and that is how I got my experience with those tools. So it's not as instantaneous as just like finding a course or working for free, but like it or not, like some of these more expensive BI tools, there is some gatekeeping involved. Reason being, the more advanced tools like Tableau and Power BI are not cheap. I think they're like, depending on the tier you get, $100,000 or more per year for a company to use that tool. So I'm not going to get into specifics of why that tool is so valuable that people use it so often, but they're more advanced tools. It's kind of like a Ferrari versus a Camry. So if you want that Ferrari and you want to use Tableau, which is used quite a lot by various large businesses and brands, you're going to have to get that experience, and it's not going to be as easy. There is some gatekeeping there because of how expensive that tool is, that you may not have as many opportunities to learn the tool. So those are tips I recommend. Now, finally, what's left? What other courses can you take to really up-level your time as a marketing data analyst? Not to be confused with the data analyst. Before I continue with the last big impact courses, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and then leave a comment about what you learned and what you want to hear about next in my next video. Okay, so the last courses I would recommend are learning about some essential marketing analytics tools. So Google Analytics, Mixpanel, and Amplitude. Like I said before, it's probably better if you know more than one of these for the same reasons. If you want to choose which ones, Google Analytics 4 is still the most popular free option. So that's by far one of them that you should learn. The others, it really just depends on what jobs you're going for in terms of what you're seeing in the job postings. So there is kind of a different trend as time goes by for these. I remember there's one era a few years ago when I was applying for jobs where Mixpanel was like, pretty high up there in the list of things that they wanted to see. So just check and see the pattern and trend of the job postings and then pick one that you can learn. Now, how do you learn these tools? Well, many of them offer free courses or at least video tutorials and articles for free on their website. Google has a whole GA4 online course that they have offered themselves. I went through that. I got certified. I got a little certificate. I could add it to my LinkedIn. It took me a few days, maybe I would say like 1 to 2 hours a day for a few days to get through the whole course. I took my time with it because I really wanted to learn it. I know other colleagues sped through it in a fraction of that time. But that just tells you like how attainable a lot of this stuff is. Amplitude and Mixpanel, once again, they have a lot of free content and stuff out there on the web. Your best way of learning these tools is, once again, to get hands-on experience. So while I think there's a huge emphasis on courses, I think the best way for me has always been to actually work with these tools with real clients. Because when it's all theory, like I've already often learned the hard way that like, wow, I actually don't really know these skills as much as I thought because it was all theory. And then in reality, this is what the client wants me to figure out. For example, like, how is the drop off from this page to the next? And then I had to like build an actual report or multiple reports to prove that. And then I'm like, oh geez, I don't know how to do this. Oh, and then I learned how to do these things, and I learned what's most commonly requested by clients. And it's often like a night and day difference between just taking the courses and knowing that all this theory and then working with the client. So once you get all this experience in all these courses, the next step is really to get real world experience. I don't care if you have to work for free for local businesses and pitch that opportunity. whatever you have to do to get real experience with these skills, not only will it up level your actual skill set, but it'll make you a much stronger candidate when you're drilled and asked for questions in the job interview, or when you present your portfolio or your resume. It'll show that you actually know what you're talking about much more often. Okay, so that basically wraps it up, but there's one last bonus set of courses that I would consider if you're really trying to get ahead. So we've covered programming, we've covered spreadsheets, we've covered analytics tools, we've covered BI tools. I think the last bonus area of miscellaneous things that if you really wanted to show like you have a holistic understanding of digital marketing is some SEO course and some pay-per-click course. I would say just getting to a beginner level is enough versus someone who knows nothing about it. I think that's where I see the most significant night and day difference. You can kind of tell when a fellow digital analyst doesn't know a thing about pay-per-click or SEO. So just having a beginner level is really strong. And in fact, SEO in particular, that's something you could probably learn for free from all the articles and videos online. You probably don't have to pay for a course for that. In fact, I would say you definitely don't need to pay for a course for that if you're intensive and just really taking all the information online. And so those are some like bonus things. I would say also, if you really want to do so, you can learn a tag manager like Google Tag Manager, because that's another very relevant marketing tool out there. Once again, there are some courses on that, but you can also learn that stuff for free. And that kind of rounds out all the courses that I would consider trying out, learning about, assessing if you want a job one day like mine as a digital marketing data analyst. Hey, this job is pretty cool, and I'm gonna have a exclusive email newsletter about the benefits of this job, tips on how to get this job. If you want to join that, link is in the description. It is free, and you'll get more exclusive tips where you're hearing nowhere else about the perks of this job, like working from home, as well as extra tips from me to you on how to get this job. So the link is in the description. Other than that, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.